Clark.
Hello.
Oh, you have to speak. There
Hello.
she is. And Christy Sweetland.
Hello.
There she is. And Michelle. Thank you so much, Michelle, for discovering this technology so that we can play. So we've, just to review, over the last 2 weeks, we have been talking about S.T.A.R. and the principles of S.T.A.R. And the first one, of course, is surrender. And the second one, trust. And today, naturally, we're on allow. And then on the 30th, we will be talking about receive. So I think the best way to start is by asking a question. Jaylene, who is it that is allowing what?
Well, I think that's a big question that you put in your book, is who is this that's allowing what? And is it our divine self that's allowing, or is our human personality self that's allowing? That's the important distinction that you have between the two. And it's curious to look at the two, because my divine self might want one thing, and my personality says, but I want this. And so sometimes you get that tug of war. It's like the angel and the devil on your shoulders.
Oh, I love that. I think that's in the book as well.
Wonder who I learned that one from.
Yeah. Oh, and I just have to share with everyone that what we're going to do today, and by the way, happy fall equinox, is we are going to shift the format a little bit, because we can do that. And instead of, it's a Sunday, and I think lots of people are out playing tennis or planting tulips or whatever, so what we're going to do is just have a discussion about the word allow and the essential quality, which is play, and then go into some of the questions that we have gathered on that topic. So, Christy, your thoughts about who it is that is allowing what?
Well, I think it's our wholeness, whatever that our divine self that is allowing our soul contract to work through us, whatever that means. So it's our divinity allowing for what it is that our dreams are working, how they're working through us.
Well, I love that. And you know, last week when we were talking about trust, and the distinction was made that it's not who should Nina trust in her life with her pocketbook, with her checkbook, with her health. The same thing's true with allow. We're not talking about who should Nina allow to babysit my children, or what's another example of allow. This is, Jaylene, would you agree with me that we're actually moving the definition of the word, and every time we use the word, such as surrender, trust, allow, and receive, to what we are calling in the book a different octave?
Oh, I think so, definitely, because for me, the allow is like condensed to my divine self. It goes there. And then there's these other people that I'm connected to that like are building out the flower of life around me. And all those other people, I'm not getting hooked because I allow them to do whatever they're doing. And it's tough sometimes. I mean, especially if it's like your children. It's really hard to allow your children. It doesn't matter how old they are, but it's really hard. But you have to do that. You have to do that, because otherwise I come out of my divine self bubble and I start trying to run their life. And that's when I would get in trouble in the past. So my allow, if I do it right here in my divine self, and then everyone else is doing their thing around me, then I can be in chaos and still be okay.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me think of allowing another person to have their experience.
Yes, yes. A very wise woman taught me one time that if I came in and tried to manipulate anyone's experience, and I don't mean manipulate in a bad way, I mean go in and rescue them or do something really, really virtuous, that I would rob them of that experience that they were going through. And that sometimes I would even keep them from attaining their goals. because I didn't allow them to have that experience, whatever it is.
Christy, does that feel comfortable to you, not to rescue?
Oh yeah, and it's something that it resonates with me so powerfully because it's something that I've really had to release in my own life. I'm working for so many years in veterinary medicine. At one point, the count was I had 5 dogs and 3 cats all living in my home, and there came a point where that became a really powerful metaphor for me, because it wasn't just this little community of animals that was representing this part of me that felt like I had to go around and save everything and save everyone from their own experiences. It is incredibly powerful in the work that I do now in the field of coaching and psychology, is that we have to learn that it's not up to us to go in and fix everyone's lives, because that's taking away their power. So allowing is a potent aspect in our life on our journey to personal empowerment.
Well, I can almost hear Joanne, who was with us for the last 2 sessions, saying, well, now, Christy, if somebody was drowning and you were in a boat, are we just going to allow them to drown?
And no, that you know, I think what this aspect is again a different octave than what we would be talking about in that aspect. And the truth is, if I was on the shore of that lake and I witnessed what was happening, and I had the ability within me to do something about it, and everything lined up, I wasn't going to die in the process, you know, that is the power of now. That's the power of each moment, and understanding that we make our choices when we line up with our divinity in each moment is perfect.
Absolutely. And you know, it's interesting too to watch, because we've talked some about animals today, the moves that they've made in the last 15 years when they're doing filming or they're studying animals, and they're in the wild, and they have this rule now that people are following not to intervene. You know, and it's really hard for those people that are doing the filming, because they'll see you know, a baby that's lost its mom, and they can't go in and rescue the baby and intervene. They have to let the natural order flow. And I think that's a fabulous example for people, because, you know, if all is perfection and everything is unfolding exactly the way that an individual needs in their life, then, you know, it is us judging where that other person is on whether we need to come in and fix them or not. We're judging them to be broken in some way. And, you know, the distinction for me is if someone asks for my assistance, or they ask for my opinion, or, you know, if they're asking or they want to just talk about it, that's different. But I really love that example that's coming in from, you know, the wildlife filmers, and it's quite spectacular.
Mm. Well, I would love to tell a story. I think the stories that we've been telling over the last 2 weeks have really been so rich for me. And so my story really has a great deal to do with quantum physics. So let me just tell everyone that I am a very baby student of quantum physics, and I might not express all of the thoughts that are in my mind as purely scientifically and accurately as I would like, but I'm going to do my best. What I know about quantum physics is that when I have a thought, let's say I am going to be a loving person, that thought actually is emitted, or the speaking of that thought is emitted out into the multidimensional field, and it becomes waves of possibility. And then I, as the observer, collapse the waves into particle form, or my reality. So the question is, who is the observer? And who is collapsing the waves of potential? Okay, so the story goes like this. I, from my inner voice, was told that I was to create something called the S.T.A.R Clinic, and that the S.T.A.R Clinic was interdimensional and interplanetary, that it could only be expressed on planet Earth on 2012 because our level of awareness and growth of consciousness did not match with this construct, this state of being, and that it had never been on the planet before. So you can imagine, I think I mentioned this the other day, that Nina, the ego personality, didn't know how to do this. I've never done it before. So there was an innate fear that I, as the ego personality, was expressing. So what occurred to me when I put that request together with my limited understanding of quantum physics was that Nina has a box, and this box is all of the experiences that I have ever experienced in this lifetime. And I have a toolkit in this box, and I use that toolkit to go through my life and to make my decisions. Well, what I was being asked was to create something that was out here. And I'd never been out there before. And my toolbox doesn't have tools for out here. So no wonder I was afraid. And no wonder I was anxious and confused about how can I create something that I have never known before. So the answer came to me that Nina, in wholeness, as a divine human, as a sovereign being, had to allow the waves of possibility that I was emitting from my intention, my thought of creating the most successful S.T.A.R clinic I could, even though I had no idea what that meant. I had to allow the waves of possibility, without being collapsed by my ego personality, to travel out here. Mm-hmm. And I had to allow my wholeness, my human divinity, to collapse the waves of potential in the unknown, creating the unknown. So how did I do?
You did good.
Okay, I think let's just not get serious. I think it's time to share with everyone, again, that the essential quality for today is living in the now, which is defined by me as play. So we've announced the big word, play. So, Christy.
Oh, that's very ominous.
No, we need a hat on you.
We need a hat on me? Okay, hang on. Okay. All right, just a minute. Let's see. How about this?
Oh, Christy, you have to talk.
Is that better?
You're scuba.
I can't talk. I'm scuba diving.
Oh, I mean, this is just too much fun. So let me ask a question, which is, what is the definition of play? The reason I ask this, and I've asked it so often, is that a couple of years ago, my grandson said to me, Granina, I don't want to help with the dishes. I want to go play. Well, he was not playing soccer. He was not playing hockey or chess. He was just going to go out and play. And so I began to query, what is play, what is play, what is play? So let me just ask the question to you.
Well, for me, play is when time disappears, is that I lose all track of linear time. And that can look any any number of ways. It can be when I'm doing work that I love, when I'm playing with my doggies. It can be with being with my family and friends, but it's when I completely forget that there is such a thing as time, which is why I like it that you put it together with the power of now, because that is living in the moment.
So, Jaylene, can we play when we are at our job?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite stories was when I first went to work in publishing and found that they would actually pay me to read something. I felt so guilty because I got paid to read. I felt like I should take the stuff home to read it because one shouldn't get paid to read. It was something I enjoyed so much. I couldn't imagine that, not feeling guilty for reading, but I love to read, always have loved to read. So that was when my work combined with my play. And so I describe play at work as something that you're getting paid to do that you feel slightly guilty for.
I love that. Christy, how about those people who might be on the call that find that a paradox?
Oh, I think that that's an old paradigm that is shifting in our world, that our work can't be our play. I think that more and more people are realizing that. I read an incredible quote this week that said something like, "Purpose is when your joy meets the needs of the world."
Oh,
that's a great line.
Yeah. And everybody has a unique joy that, when expressed into the world, brings healing to any number of ills. So I believe that this is something that we are learning to challenge, that work can't be play. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think where I would find it difficult to be in a job that I didn't like, trying to explore how to be in the now, I might find that I am having thoughts that are attached to the emotions of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate? In other words, poor me. Oh, hello there. We have another playmate.
Hi.
Renee, we're talking about play.
Renee! Hi!
Renee, if you, in a little while, take your mute button off and then you can join us. And right now we can't hear you, so you have to go down to the bottom, scroll down below your photograph, and there's a speaker. And if you hit, or let me try it. Are you there now?
No, she's muted now.
Yeah.
No, you have to hit the mute button. Michelle!
Let's see. Renee, if you can roll over your photo, your name will show underneath. Let me not if you can see that. Yes. So there's a little microphone. Hit that. Let's see if we can see if that. Oh, can you try and say something? Let's see. Do you have any headphones or anything plugged into your computer?
Nope.
Oh,
we heard you.
Now we can hear you.
There I am.
There you go.
Yay!
Wow! Well, this is
I
such
just got
fun
in.
for us.
Pardon me?
It's such fun for us because Renee is a good friend, and she's also an expert on the principles of S.T.A.R and the qualities that reflect the pillars, for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad to have a community of light here, and it's so much fun. I just came in from walking the pub, so excuse the attire, but here we are.
Here we are. Happy fall equinox.
Oh, yes, and it's a perfect time to gather.
Okay, well, and Jaylene and Christy, see, perhaps you have a story that you'd like to share about how allow expressed itself in your life?
Christy, you want to go first?
Sure. I guess the biggest one for me was when, as I've already spoken about, when I left my career in veterinary medicine, and we talk about this box that we have to come out here when we just don't know what exists out here, and I really felt like I had gotten trapped within that. I can't leave this field, this career, because it's all that I know. It's where my identity exists. Who am I if I'm not working within the field of veterinary medicine? Might I cease to exist? And so there was a lot of resistance for 10 or so years until I finally got to the place where no part of me would be able to tolerate the life that I was living any longer. So I was able to finally surrender. And it really got to the point where it was frightening because I had no idea what was coming next. It was a complete state of allowance for me. And in order to do that, in order to make that transition, it required the play, the joy, the living in the now, and understanding that the trust part of it was that the timing would reveal itself. It wasn't me to go in and force it. So that was really my allowance story, and actually during that time, I developed a little mantra that I kept saying to myself, which was, I am peacefully whatever, which meant to me, I have no idea. And people would literally ask me, what are you going to do now? And I ended up saying, whatever. It'll come to me. And so this mantra, I am peacefully whatever, allowed me to just sort of let go of the box that my life had become, and open for what was next.
Wow. Jaylene, how about
Oh, do I have tales from the front line of Allow? They follow me for my entire life. I mean, it's one experience after another experience, but now I'm pretty adept at it. So I think the way that Allow really folds into my life and my work and my play, because my work is my play, is about honoring the book's timetable. I believe that every book that we work on has its very own timetable. It knows when it wants to be born. And in publishing, I've had to let go of this structure in my mind of, we do books on this time, and they go out into the marketplace this way, and we do this and this and this and this, and that's what gets it ready to go out into the world. But with these books that we work on, they have something else going on, and you have to allow it to unfold, and you have to be willing to go back and look at it one more time after you've gone through those levels of it and say, does it stay or does it go? What is this telling me? And then you move on again, and you move on again, and you let go of that structure in your mind of, it's supposed to be ready now. So I've done something, I failed in some way, so it's not ready now. But you let go of that, and you just allow it to bloom and bloom and bloom and bloom, and it has a season. And then it goes out and it makes its way into the world. And it's really an elegant process when I look at it now. It's like Allow plus elegance, because it has this masterful timing, and it wants to unfold in its own pace. And if you try to force it, or you're spanking yourself because you feel like you failed in some way, then you're missing the journey.
incredible, incredible. And having worked with you in the publishing of S.T.A.R. and now State of Being, I really honor you for that. I felt no pressure. no time frame. It was just Nina, go dream.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it was so much fun. Like in that last 6 weeks with you before the book went to press,
Yeah.
because I'm very sensitive to that now, and it was like, put away the other things that are going on right now and put your mind right here and your focus right here. It's time for this to go. And so I did that. And when the beautiful thing about when you move into the play space and the workspace at the same time is you're able to accomplish a great deal of tasks in a minimal amount of time. It's like twitch, twitch, twitch on Bewitched. Oh, it's done. Oh, it's done. Oh, it's done too. And that's what Allow can do for you in your work. When you get that sensitive to it, that you know, it's time for me to do this. Or you go into it and you're going, oh, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done. And sometimes if you'll just let go outside, weed the garden, drive around a little bit, get out and go somewhere else, and then come back to it, then you'll have a much more graceful process.
So I have one more Allow story, and I'll try to do it very quickly, and then we'll move into the discussion and question and answer. In the beginning of 2000, I had two partners, and we created a wellness center. And very briefly, it ended up that in my truth, the universe did not want me going down that path for the rest of my life. There were some lessons to learn, very, very big ones, some experiences to have, but I was not to fill out Medicare forms for years and years. So what happened was Medicare did not accept our neurosensory diagnostic center, and if Medicare doesn't accept it, then none of the other insurance companies accept it, and you do not get reimbursed. So we ended up making the decision to close up the vision. So the point I wanted to make is there were so many ways that I could have responded to that. I could have said, Nina, you're a failure. I could have thought that all of my friends thought that about me. I could have gone on and on about the poor me. This cost us X number of dollars. We didn't get a return on investment. But what happened? What happened was, even though I didn't totally understand the principles of S.T.A.R, I think they were probably innately within me, I allowed. It was absolutely the fascinated observer, and again, that term hadn't come to me. I knew innately that something bigger and more magnificent was about to appear, that the universe was absolutely going to take care of me, was going to guide me in the direction that I needed to go. It was a very painful, very, very exhausting, physically, mentally, in every way, experience. But I glided through it with no judgment, no shame, and went off to Egypt to take a trip with a dear friend, came back, and absolutely, it was as if the universe opened up to me. I got a call from James Jereb at S.T.A.R Dreaming, and he said, come play with me, help me expand the dream of our sacred site. And that's where I belonged. That's where I belonged at that particular moment in my soul's evolution. So I just needed to sneak that story in. And Renee, you know James, and I think you were part of all of
James.
That. Yes, yes, yes. He was so excited that you were going to be the ambassador.
So Renee, we're going to switch into the question and answer period. So play with us now. Do you have any personal thoughts on Allow?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I'm so grateful for S.T.A.R. because it's such it comes from the heart, but yet it's so logical. you know, our lives are so filled with so much love, and sometimes when I get in a head trip and do not let my heart lead the way, then the allowing kind of stops. And I've learned that when I moved up here to Michigan, it was a completion of a marriage, and allowing things, and it was a completion. We're still very best friends. We're still, you know, just deliciously wonderful. But the allow part of just allowing my life to unfold, I had moved to a place that I knew no one, and I just got to reinvent myself. So there was a lot of allowing along the way, and allowing and trusting that I was going to be okay and better than okay. I could just, no one knew me, so I didn't have a past. No one had any judgment of me. Oh, she's so-and-so's daughter, or she's so-and-so's. Any of those things were just removed. And allowing Spirit just to totally take over. And I just feel like I have grown in amazing ways. So allow is one of those things that, along with the surrender and trusting, allowing it to have its own time and allowing not to know the outcome. Allowing myself not to say, okay, you were talking about, Jaylene, about the book birthing itself and having its own timeline. And just allowing and knowing that Spirit's in charge and that energy flows through me in all, because I, as Renee, do not see all the other animantine particles combining and dancing with you and everyone else, and your dance with my dance and everyone else's dances coalescing together in such magnificent ways, and just allowing that to happen as it will, instead of trying to force it or make things happen, and then it gets messy.
Yes, yes. Well, I was wondering, Renee or Nina, if you could speak to what happens to agenda with allow.
Oh, you always ask such wonderful questions.
That's my job.
I know it is. Well, you know, I'm going to come back with the same thing I did last week. What octave are we talking about? In third dimension, you cannot move often off of the agenda. But I think as we shift our octaves and allow the universe or the multidimensional field to show up, I think agenda is one of those words that's going to get tossed.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer.
Oh, and she's got a crown. Oh my goodness.
This is our play day. We get to talk about play.
Oh.
But Jaylene, do expand on that since you generated the question.
Well, we've grown accustomed to agendas. We've grown accustomed to to-do lists, and they're beautiful to be able to have a goal list or know those kind of things that you want to do. But yet at the same time, when you get into that flow where you're unwilling to change your agenda, I think it's good to have agenda, but it's also very good to be willing to change it at any time. Just like we did this morning or this afternoon when we decided to do an hour.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to tell you,
it was no big deal.
I have to tell you, I now have a way of answering all of your questions, and I can do it pretty spontaneously.
Bravo.
So we're going to make the assumption that I am a sovereign being, and that I am an individual aspect of all that is, and I can just say, does Source have an agenda? I don't think so. No. And yet last week when you asked about responsibility and ownership, same thing. Does Source have responsibility? And does Source have ownership? I just think it helps answer your very tricky questions.
Yeah.
How does that feel, Renee?
That's a to me. That's a contemplative, poignant time for me to just be quiet and just listen.
While you're being quiet, make a noise. There you go. And let us see the painting behind you, because we've spent a little time talking about James Jareb. But you have to make noise or we can't see it. There you go. We've talked about James Jareb, and I just want to share with everyone that it was at S.T.A.R Dreaming through James Jareb who got a transmission from Thoth, and that S.T.A.R was revealed, and that's a painting that he did that Renee...
Do you want to see the fairy ring?
Oh, sure.
You want to see it's just in the... My house is so huge. It's just in the next room.
Okay. So, Christy, while she's doing that, how does my my way of answering the questions work for you?
I resonated with the answer, with your answer. I don't think that agenda should be one of the words that we throw out of your dictionary, because I think it's like what Jaylene said, is that it's not the agenda that can hang us up. It's the attachment to the outcome of the agenda. And that's what we're asking to release and allow for.
Yes.
So, I mean, because honestly, we're writing a book. That's an agenda. It doesn't have to look any one way. When we get caught up, like, and I have had the tendency to do this, to get caught up in the details of how that agenda needs to progress, I think that's where the wheels fall off. But in just allowing for it to move through us without, that makes the agenda functional and useful.
Well, and we have feet in both dimensions, both octaves. So, so Renee, we're just bouncing all over the place here. Can you do that really quickly and cough so we get to see the picture?
Beautiful.
Renee, you have to make a noise.
You can click on Renee's icon below, and it'll click on.
Look. Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it's a map of S.T.A.R Dreaming and Aphrodite. Is that right?
No, she's Andromeda.
Andromeda. I got the A.
You got the A right. That's good. A for effort. James would be so happy, and the fairies, talk about play, that's the fairy rings, so we're going to be playing in all that fairy energy.
So, Christy, do you have any more delicious questions?
There is one. Someone had a question from the book, actually.
Uh-oh.
And it was, let me read a quick passage. This was on page 52 of S.T.A.R, a Now State of Being. And you wrote, when we know deeply that we are one with all creation, then having compassion no longer serves us. For in doing so, we create a state of separation between the other and the self. All that is now needed is love. And the question was, please, in your words, explain, because they were not grasping the difference here between compassion and love.
And I think my thoughts about compassion are evolving. I guess what you put in a book today can evolve into book number 3 and 4 tomorrow. What I was saying at the time goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, that words have different definitions on different octaves. And the octave that I was looking at when I wrote that was one where I felt judgment with the word compassion, and that if I judged a situation or a person to be in need of my compassion, that I might also feel that I need to fix it. So I began to challenge the word and, tossed it out with that definition from my dictionary, and felt that love was the perfect word to use, because if a person is having an experience and it's a difficult experience, but it is a growth experience, just as we said in the beginning of this conversation, I don't want to take that experience away.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to love that person. And does that help at all, Christy?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. What would Jaylene have to say about that?
Oh, I completely agree with Nina. It is very accurate to say that the words have different definitions as you move octaves. And so with compassion, as we've been expressing it on the planet right now, compassion requires that we judge another person's experience as being imperfect in some way, that they need rescuing, that they need assistance on some level, and we're not honoring their own sovereignty. So love being different than compassion, because love requires no judgment whatsoever. Actually, I could tell you a funny about the term love, and that's from my grandfather. He was from Louisville, Kentucky, and so he would say this with his Southern man drawl. And he said, "Love is like the morning dew. It's just as apt to fall upon a flower as it is a horse's turd." I think that's so accurate, and that's how it is with love. It just goes wherever. It doesn't matter if it's a smelly place or not.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
By the way, I think Joanne just came, so everyone quiet for a minute.
Oh, I'm here. I'm invisible. I'm invisible while my hair dries.
Well, we're ringing bells to say thank you for being here.
Yeah, I just came in. I just came in from the garden. I was pulling weeds and then realized it was after 3. So I'm just going to be quiet here for a while, and you guys just, whatever.
So,
Nina,
Joanne, today's the day for us to play. So
No way.
play is the essential quality that goes with allow. So we're just doing all sorts of.
Oh, okay. I'm beginning to get this now.
Yeah.
It's time to be silly. Okay, I got
Time to be silly, right?
and our agenda has changed. Tell Joanne about our.
Oh, yeah, we decided to celebrate fall equinox and the beautiful spring weather that's now in the fall, that we would have an hour conversation instead of a 2-hour conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm really sorry I missed.
Well,
But
here you are.
I also had to spend some time earlier, speaking of equinox, writing a blog post for my tarot group, because we celebrate all the 8 festivals of the year, since the lady who started it is a witch. So right now it's called Mabon. Mabon. It's a Welsh mythic hero, I guess, who's associated with the equinox. But yeah, happy balance, people.
So, Joanne, since there is less time, can you just jump in spontaneously and give us 1 or 2 pithy thoughts about the word allow?
Oh, about allow?
Yeah, we're playing with allow today.
That's one of the hardest ones for me. Oh, great, thanks.
No, time's up.
Yay! No, allow is probably the hardest one for me. It's probably what keeps me here in Houston. It's probably more than anything, I think subconscious not allowing, even after you've learned to surrender in the moment and trust. When it comes to getting to the next place, it's the allow thing, and that's the hardest part for me, I think. Mm-hmm. Just to allow the right things to come into my life to move me forward. So,
Nina?
Yeah.
As I'm listening to Joanne, I'm getting a question for you. That can you show Joanne how allow and grace are like soul sisters?
That's one of those trick questions. You have to do it.
She always loves those at you, Nina.
Okay, Christy?
Well,
Come on, honey, go for it.
I think that's a beautiful. Those are beautiful sisters, actually, and I don't know if in my life I can have allow without grace, because grace
Bingo.
is the undercurrent, that beautiful undercurrent that actually brings in the ability to allow.
Yes, yes. So it's almost like you're walking, and your one step is allow, and the next step is grace.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm getting. Joanne,
Yeah.
can you try that? Like a mindful walk? Joanne, are you
Sounds like
there?
it sounds like grace to me sounds like self-forgiveness. Um,
Hmm.
But
it's
see, if
hard.
you're,
It's
if
hard to
you're,
allow good things to happen to you if you haven't fully forgiven yourself. Now, I've gone through several processes where I've worked different levels of that, but ultimately, I think the people for whom the world provides pathways and who can do things, just get up and do things spontaneously. And I don't know, I sort of envy them. I go back and forth between wanting to hang on to my control and schedule and everything, and just let things unfold in their own time, but also allow them to unfold. Um, and a lot of it to me seems, at least grace to me, always makes me think of forgiveness.
so when you're working with allow now, Joanne, in your life, what kind of things work for you to be able to have it more? Do you have like a monitoring, a self-monitoring technique, or do you have a something that you do to remind yourself where you are?
I have to be still. There's this place that I can stand or sit, or it's not like meditation in the sense of sitting and taking a half an hour or an hour to get into it or anything like that, although you can keep doing it for a while. I can just stand somewhere, and there's this sense of releasing all the heaviness that is in my body into the earth. And it's very relaxing. And then I feel like I've centered myself with everything for the moment. And that's, I think, when the door is open for new things to happen. It's hard to stay that way all the time. I know people who do. Eckhart Tolle is a good example. But I know I can do that. I can feel that. I know what that feels like. So that's
Awesome.
what I do.
Joanne, let me ask about an expansion of the word allow. Do you have difficulty allowing people to serve you?
Oh yes, I'm not a Pisces sun sign for nothing.
And do you have trouble receiving, allowing yourself to receive? And of course, we'll talk about.
Oh yeah, I want to be taken care of, and I want to take care of everybody else. So I'm constantly in tension between those two things.
So
That's
really
how I grew. That's how I grew up. My parents did a good job of taking care of all my basic needs, and so sometimes I take for granted that somebody's going to come along and rescue me, and I get myself in trouble. And then I spend most of my time taking care of other people at my own expense in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So boundaries are hard. Boundaries are hard.
Yeah. And you also use the word control.
Yeah.
Controlling outcome, for sure.
Yeah. Well, see, if you have boundaries, actually, you can institute a kind of control that's a bit more authentic, I think.
Yeah. The wonderful thing about all of this is it's a process, and it's all perfect.
Oh, yeah, because, I like to think of it as levels. Like, 12 years ago, I started a journey from being almost entirely in my head and unaware of energy and everything else to suddenly being exposed to all these new ideas, channelers, energies, and finding it very familiar, even though I had never used any of that in my life except to believe in the force that's in Star Wars movies, you know. I knew there was something about that was real. I couldn't figure out what it was, you know. And so I figured out kind of what it was, and it blew me wide open, and then I did a bunch of stupid stuff, okay, because I only went to one initial level with it. I got in that space that a lot of people who join a new church or, you know, whatever it is, that they're all excited and they forget that they haven't done all the deep work yet. And then I did some more, you know, deeper self-forgiveness work, but I was still not in a place of integrity with myself and other people. I'm still trying to take care of people in inappropriate ways, and so it took a very long time until about 6 years ago, I think, 5.5 years ago, before I blasted through one of the major issues I had and was able to live more with integrity. But I feel like I'm supposed to, like I'm working on another level or something, the next one after that. So you're right. You're exactly right, Nina. It's not like you never succeed. That's not the point.
Well, you know why I'm right is because your story is my story.
Ah.
We have 9 minutes left, and I'm gonna burst into tears when it comes to the hour because it's gone so quickly. So maybe just sort of some final comments. Jaylene, do you want to sort of wrap up your thoughts?
My thoughts on allow. I just think if you can make that a philosophy for your life, that's when your life takes on the grace. And grace is an awesome place to be. So I encourage you to use allow as philosophy.
Sounds like a whole book.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Christy.
I would like to. I came across this passage today, and it's in one of my favorite books on leadership. It's by Tracy Goss, and she wrote of what she calls the universal human paradigm, which is that there is a way that things should be, and when they are that way, things are right. When they're not that way, something is wrong with you, them, or it. Each person's life is full of what should or shouldn't be, and while these shoulds and shouldn'ts are constantly changing, they are continuously present. They reflect at any given moment what is right or wrong with you, with others, and with life itself. And it struck me that allow is the complete dissolution of the word should and shouldn't.
Thank you.
As it pertains to our life path. It's just an allowance. So it's very powerful.
Wow. No more shoulds. I'm going to kick that one out too.
And how often do we do that to others? Oh, they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't, you know, or they should be doing this, and it's destructive.
Well, we're really talking about expectations again, just like we did with trust. I remember very quickly when I did the very first S.T.A.R clinic and was trying to dream it outside of the box, as I described from a quantum physics perspective. A certain number of people signed up, and that was not the break-even number. And I had been given the assignment from other dimensions, and I knew that it was important to do, even though I didn't quite understand totally why, that we were going to be seeding the field. And my logical financial brain was saying, Nina, cancel. This doesn't make financial sense. And then I guess what came to me was allowing, big time. And it was an allowing of whatever the field, the universe, the beings from other dimensions and planets have cooking, even though it does not fit into the logical explanation of how one conducts things, will be perfect. And believe me, it was very difficult, very, very difficult. And it took all of my knowing my human divinity, sovereignty to do it. And now I know that the perfect number showed up, the perfect expression happened. We seeded the field in ways that were miraculous. And had I listened to my ego personality, I believe that the field would not have been seeded the way it was. So, Renee, say bye-bye. Or
Oh, okay. I just had a quick thought, and it's a thought about compassion. I was told one time that compassion is, of course, being in the state of grace, but it's coming to someone with the passion of love. And there's something about an alchemical components when you are talking to someone and they are sharing what they need to share, just sometimes just to voice it so they can hear their own being saying things, and you are just simply there to listen. And if you stand in the place of compassion, you are passionate about their evolution, their, evolution's not the right word, but evolving into their own way of coming to terms to what it is that they're, the nugget within, and this kind of unfolds in the state of grace, but you just simply detach. And in that detachment with compassion, it creates this field of such love that things become more clear to the person that is standing beside you and wanting you to witness just simply because they need a sounding board.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I don't know.
Beautiful.
Now I know why I love you so much.
Yeah,
Joanne,
that was very good.
Joanne, do you want to say a final thought?
Don't give up. You'll think you've reached a certain level in this allowing part, and then things won't seem to be going the way they should. But it's really, really important not to dwell too long on, you've gotten a side trip or gotten detoured, and that detachment that you're talking about is important here, that you're not so attached to results. There's the expectations thing again, because there will always be a new challenge to make you even more like the Dalai Lama than you already are. And so get ready for the next one, and don't dwell too long on the fact that you may not have gotten exactly where you wanted to be at a certain point in the timeline. I mean, space-time is curved, so you'll come around to it anyway, one way or the other. I don't know, I just said, you just don't give up. I think that's real important. I've had to remember that several times.
Beautiful. Michelle, just enormous gratitude to you and for your understanding.
Hey, Michelle!
Amazing technology.
Somebody found the nifty effects. Thanks.
Oh. So in a sense of play and joy, I just say thank you to all of the listeners and welcome you to come back on the 30th when we're going to talk about receive. Joanne, come play with us again. Renee, come play with us again.
Will do.
And happy fall equinox, I guess, is the final word. So,
Yay.
bye-bye, bye-bye, and thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.